If you hear someone knocking, if you ever hear a knock at your door in the dead of night, don't answer. Trust me, I wish I could claim I came up with that advice on my own. But I learned it, too late, from the worst teacher possible, the thing that's been tormenting me ever since. 1. The first knocks. The knocks were so loud, they ripped me straight out of sleep. 3 piercing raps, each spaced a heartbeat apart, rattled my skull. My eyes snapped open in the pitch-black bedroom, heart already punching against my ribs. I couldn't move. My arms and legs felt weighted down, my thoughts all fuzzy at the edges as if pulled from the deepest well of unconsciousness. For a moment, I thought I might be dreaming or hallucinating, but my ears rang with the echoes. Knock, knock, knock. The noise was real. I glanced at the soft green glow of my alarm clock. 3:15 a.m. A primal unease seeped through me. 3 in the morning. The witching hour, my grandmother used to say, her eyes going wide and serious. That's when the boundaries between our world and others begin to thin. At 5 years old, I'd giggle. Now, with goose flesh sprouting on my arms, I did not laugh. I listened, breath clenched in my lungs. Silence. The knocking had stopped, or so I thought. Knock, knock, knock. 3 more, identical in timing and force, as though performed by a metronome. A warning chill slid down my spine. Who would visit at this hour? I barely had any friends in this part of the city. My family had dwindled over the years. No one would show up unannounced in the dead of night. Not unless there was trouble. 1,000 possibilities tore through my head. An accident? A stranger needing help? Someone so desperate they'd come banging at random doors? Don't open it, whispered a part of me. The primal part that recognized something was very, very wrong. But a sliver of decency in me said, what if they need you? I dragged myself out of bed, feeling like I was trudging through water, and padded into the hall. The moment I cracked my bedroom door open, I heard it again. Knock. 3-second pause, knock. 3-second pause, knock. An unshakable rhythm. I tried not to imagine a puppet on the other side, hammered into motion by some unseen hand. But that's exactly how it sounded, impossibly mechanical. Each rap perfectly spaced. With trembling steps, I crept down the stairs, heart pounding so loudly I feared it might drown out the next set of knocks. When I reached the small foyer, I pressed my ear to the door. My pulse thrummed in my ears. The knocks rattled it again, so close they reverberated in my chest. I inhaled a shaky breath and squinted through the peephole. Total darkness. Not the usual gloom of a moonless night. No. This was darker than anything I'd ever seen, a void that refused to let in even a stray flicker from the nearest street lamp. I flicked the porch light switch, waiting for an amber glow to pierce the night. Nothing. Still black as ink outside. A cold sweat prickled my scalp. The light bulb must have gone out, or maybe the wires were dead. Or something is blocking the porch light, I thought, an image of a towering shape looming just beyond the glass, making my stomach twist. Knock, knock, knock. Hello? My voice emerged in a thin whisper. I swallowed and tried again, louder. Is someone there? Do you need help? No answer. Just the constant pounding, as if the knocker was deaf to my words. Fear warred with guilt in my chest. If someone was hurt or mute or delirious, maybe they couldn't respond. It wasn't in my nature to turn away a potential victim. I threatened to call the police, voice shaking. The knocks didn't change. The same pattern repeated, an endless loop. Anxiety pulled in my gut. This could be a trap, I thought. But part of me couldn't bear the idea of leaving a helpless person out there. I gripped the doorknob and felt every muscle in my body tense. I'm going to open the door, I said, though my mind screamed at me not to. My breath hitched as I turned the deadbolt and pulled. The front door swung open wide onto nothing. Absolute blackness, like I'd opened a portal onto a starless void. No figure stood there. The porch beneath my feet was barely visible. A bizarre hush choked the normal nighttime sounds. No distant cars, no crickets. I stepped out, hard hammering. Without warning, a massive force slammed into my back. The impact jolted me off my feet, and I slammed down onto the porch, knocking the wind from my lungs. I tried to roll over, limbs flailing uselessly as panic overtook me. When I managed to face upward, I froze. A looming silhouette crouched over me, impossibly tall and angular. My bedroom porch light, which had been dead seconds ago, flickered on for a second, revealing a creature that defied explanation. Its skin was so black it seemed to devour the light around it. Its face glowed dully, pale as a drowned corpse, with sunken pits for eyes. It grinned, showing rows of needle-like teeth. "You shouldn't have done that," it hissed, pressing down on my chest with a monstrous hand. Its voice was low and uneven, as though rough branches scraped together in a windstorm. "You really shouldn't have let me in." The stench of rot and damp earth wafted from its maw, nearly making me retch. My terror was complete, Primal. I clawed at its arm, which felt like iron beneath a smooth, leathery surface. "What? Who?" I choked, barely able to breathe. It rasped, leaning closer. "Who I am doesn't matter. All that matters is you opened the door." A cold, mirthless chuckle resonated from its chest, sending vibrations through my ribs. "You invited me." I tried shoving it off, but it was like battling a granite statue. My arms burned with the effort. A dim voice in my mind said this can't be real, but everything about the creature was horrifyingly tangible. Then it opened its jaws and sank those teeth into me. I felt my flesh tear, heard my bones snap, and my scream got stuck in my throat, drowned by the taste of coppery blood. The pain was so all-encompassing that it numbed my brain. My vision blurred with tears, and my muscles convulsed. Through the agony, I heard it laughing. The sound, somewhere between a cackle and a growl, made my skin crawl. Darkness leaked into my consciousness. Blood roared in my ears. I struggled for one last breath. Knock, knock. The sound came from somewhere far away, echoing in the void. And then everything went black. The next awakening, I woke drowning in my own scream. My sheets were soaked in sweat. My heart hammered like a wild animal's. For a moment, I couldn't think, couldn't speak, until my senses caught up with reality. I was in my bedroom. The clock read 3:15 a.m., exactly the same time as before. I pressed my palms to my chest, half expecting torn flesh and shattered bones. Nothing. I was intact, though my body trembled violently. "A nightmare," I breathed. "It was just a nightmare." Relief washed over me in a shaky rush, until I heard it. Knock, knock. I jerked, nearly tumbling off my bed. The knocks were not at the front door this time. They seemed to come from somewhere inside the house. The hairs on my neck rose. How could that be? I looked at the clock again. Still 3:15 a.m. My heart threatened to burst through my ribs. Knock, knock. 2 raps, in a rhythmic pattern of 2 seconds apart. It was different from the initial 3 knocks, faster, more urgent. As if something was counting down. I swallowed a scream and forced myself to stand on shaky legs. When the knocks came again, I could have sworn they were coming from beyond my bedroom door, in the upstairs hallway. My phone lay on the nightstand. I snatched it up, hands trembling, only to find no reception. The battery icon flickered ominously low. This was impossible. I had full bars earlier in the day. I had to do something. Fight? Flee? But flight to where? My mind reeled, remembering the creature from that hideous dream. If it was just a dream, why was I still so sure it lurked nearby? Grasping for any weapon, my gaze fell on an old baseball bat propped in the corner of the room. I'd kept it since I was 13. With no better option, I grabbed it. The polished wood felt slippery in my damp palms. Knock, knock. The door trembled with each sound, rattling the hinges. Summoning every shred of courage, I inched closer, ready to swing. I pressed my ear to the door. Nothing but my own thudding heart. I turned the knob. Creak. The hallway was dark. I flicked the overhead light switch. Dead. Like the porch light. My breath caught. The only illumination was the faint sliver from my bedroom lamp behind me. Knock, knock. The noise echoed from down the hallway, near the top of the stairs. Quiet as I could, I approached, clutching the bat. Anxiety gripped my chest, making me want to curl into a ball. Instead, I forced my legs forward, step by step. At the end of the hall, a door stood slightly ajar, a door that should have been closed. The linen closet, I realized with a bolt of confusion. Nobody used that closet but me. Knock, knock. It definitely came from inside that closet. My hand shook on the doorknob. I counted to 3 in my head, then wrenched it open and swung the bat full force. My bat hit nothing. The closet was empty, towels and sheets stacked neatly. There was nowhere to hide, no false back, no occupant that could possibly be knocking. Dread slithered in my gut. Something's messing with me. I breathed in shallow gasps, tears pricking my eyes from the tension. Then, from the shadows behind me, I heard a low chuckle. I whipped around, brandishing the bat. Black emptiness stared back. "Stop it!" I hissed into the gloom, voice cracking. "Just stop!" But no answer came, only silence. I exhaled, trying to calm my racing mind, and took a step backward. My heel caught on something, sending me sprawling onto the floor. The impact jarred my spine. The bat clattered away, spinning out of reach. Pain shot through my elbow. Knock, knock. Louder this time, closer. They were coming from the direction of my bedroom. Or maybe it was the stairs? My sense of direction felt skewed in the darkness. The jolt must have scrambled my brain. "No," I whispered, forcing myself to stand. I needed a plan. Get out of the house. That was the only thing that made sense. Whatever was going on, hallucination, haunting, or intruder, I had to escape. I raced to my room, grabbed my phone, then dashed to the stairs. With every step, the knocks rose in volume, as though chasing me. By the time I reached the front door, it was a near-deafening pounding in my ears, reverberating in my skull. I yanked the door open, stumbling out onto the porch, and froze. The porch light flickered weakly, revealing a street swallowed in thick, unnatural darkness. No houses were visible across the road. The street lamp, ordinarily a faint glow, was dead. The entire neighborhood had vanished into shadow. It was as though my home floated in a void. "Impossible," I muttered, stepping onto the driveway. Crack. My shoe struck pavement. At least the ground was still there. I crept forward, scanning for any sign of life. Not a single car. Not a single star in the sky. Just blank blackness. Part of me wanted to run in any direction, but logic told me I might get lost and never find my way back. Besides, my phone still had no signal. Even if I found someone else, how could I ask for help? Would there even be someone out here? Knock, knock. The sound made my blood run cold. It was coming from behind me again, inside my house. But now the rhythm was slower, as if something searched for me in each room. Before my fear could get the better of me, I noticed a low humming in the air, like static. It seemed to pulse in time with my heartbeat, and with every pulse, the darkness around my yard inched closer, swallowing more of the driveway. I had two choices: stay outside and risk being engulfed by the encroaching void, or go back into face that thing. Neither was good. But staying out here felt like suicide. So I forced myself back inside, shutting the door behind me. The instant it latched, the knock started up again, this time with renewed fury. Knock, 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 knock. 3 knocks, that old pattern from before, coming from the living room. Armed with my phone's flashlight, the battery hovered dangerously low. I inched toward the sound. My living room furniture looked strangely distorted under the harsh beam. Shadows twisted across the walls as if alive. My reflection in the TV screen startled me. I looked ghastly, eyes wild with terror. Knock, knock, knock. The noise definitely came from the window. I directed my flashlight there, expecting to see a face pressed against the glass. Instead, I saw darkness, more absolute than the typical night outside. I flicked my phone's beam around, searching for some shape or silhouette. Nothing. My hand shook. My breathing came too fast. I was on the brink of a panic attack. Keep it together. If I lost my mind now, I'd be easy prey for whatever this was. Summoning a shred of courage, I stepped closer to the window. "What do you want from me?" I demanded, voice cracking. "Knock, knock, knock," came the answer, mocking and hollow. A whisper slid across my thoughts. "Let me in." Was it my own imagination? Or something else? I stumbled back, throat tight. I remembered the dream, how I'd opened the door and let that monstrosity in. I remembered how it devoured me. But that was a dream, I told myself. Wasn't it? A maze of nightmares. An electric jolt of fear shot through me. I whirled around, convinced I'd heard footsteps. All I could see was the flickering glow of my phone on the walls. My battery icon blinked to a single red bar. Then, with a sick pop, my phone died. The living room plunged into total darkness. My breath shuddered in my throat. Soft laughter brushed against my ear. I turned, but the shadows were too thick. I gripped the phone in useless frustration. Another footstep behind me, no to my left. My heart hammered as I tried to guess where it might strike. Something cold brushed my arm. I shrieked, swinging blindly. My knuckles connected with air. I nearly fell. Then, a voice, low and guttural. "Tisk tisk," it said. "You'll have to do better than that." I recognized that rasping tone, the same voice from the porch. "It's here." Horror slammed into my chest. In a surge of panic, I sprinted for the stairs. I just knew I had to get away, anywhere, any direction. I tripped halfway up, hands slamming onto the steps. The splintered wood bit into my palms. I heard the creature's deep chuckle at the foot of the stairs. "Run, then!" it hissed. "You can't hide from me." Terror fueled my legs. I scrambled to the second floor, where a flickering hall light was somehow still working, barely. It stuttered like a dying firefly. Knock, knock. Now it came from behind one of the closed doors. My bedroom door. The same place I'd awakened after that horrifying dream. "No!" I whimpered, backing away. I glimpsed the monstrous silhouette at the top of the stairs. Even in the flicker, I could see its unnatural proportions. A tall figure with elongated arms, blacker than black, face floating like a pale mask in a sea of darkness. "Get away from me," I pleaded. It only laughed. "Don't worry," it said. "I'm coming." I turned the handle of the nearest door, my guest room, rushed inside, and slammed it shut. My hands fumbled with the lock. Click. The doorknob rattled moments later under a dreadful pressure. The wood creaked. I held my breath. For several heartbeats, there was only silence. Had it left? My knees trembled, but I tried to slow my breathing. Think. The window in this room might be an escape route. I'd risk a broken leg if it meant leaving this house behind. I took 2 steps toward the curtained window. Then, knock, right on the other side of the door. One single rap, so jarringly close I actually gasped. "Let me in!" the creature crooned in a sing-song tone. "There's nowhere else for you to go." My lungs burned as I forced air in and out. The doorknob started to twist, violently rattling as if the creature was trying to snap it off. Knock. I had no choice. I yanked the curtains aside. The window looked down into a swirling black void, a faint silhouette of a yard that no longer resembled my own. The world outside was dissolving into that same unnatural darkness. No matter, I thought desperately. I have to jump. I unlatched the window and pushed it open. An icy wind hissed in, and my eyes watered. The ground looked impossibly far. My body screamed at me not to do it. Knock. The door splintered behind me. With a cry, I hauled myself onto the windowsill, perched precariously, heart in my throat. Then I jumped. The endless descent. The fall felt endless. Wind whipped my ears. I expected the earth to rise up and crush me, but it never came. Instead, I plummeted through a black sky that tore away the familiar shapes of my neighborhood. My stomach lurched, and a primal fear seized me, fear of never landing, of tumbling forever. Yet still, through the roaring in my ears, I heard it. Knock. How? I was outside, free-falling. How could there be knocking? Knock. It grew louder, more insistent, somehow invading the space around me. I tried to scream, but the rushing wind tore the sound away. My eyes stung with tears. I felt like I was spinning in zero gravity, no sense of up or down. Time lost all meaning in that tumbling darkness. It could have been seconds or hours. The knocking never faded, echoing like a drumbeat of doom. My mind flirted with madness, conjuring images of the creature. Where is it now? Is it falling with me? Then, without warning, I slammed into something solid. All the air whooshed from my lungs as pain exploded in my back. I gasped, body convulsing. Darkness swarmed my vision, and I realized I was lying on the ground. The earth beneath me felt uneven, cold. Stars spun overhead in a swirling void that might have been the sky or my own hallucination. Knock. I managed to roll onto my side. My body screamed in protest, but at least none of my bones seemed shattered. The environment around me was impossible to make out, an endless horizon of murk. Where am I? I struggled to my feet, knees wobbling, and turned in a circle. No houses, no lights. Just emptiness. Yet I saw movement in the corner of my eye, dark shapes slithering at the edges of vision, sliding away when I tried to focus on them. Knock. That single, steady rap pounded again, as if from beneath my feet. A wave of nausea hit me. The ground itself was trembling in faint pulses, timed to that cursed knock. Then I heard footsteps. Heavy, wet footsteps on the non-existent ground. My breath caught. A silhouette separated itself from the shadows. The creature. Its black form wavered like living smoke, but the face glowed with that same sickly pallor. It stared at me with those hollow eyes, lips curled in a mocking grin. "Found you," it rasped. "You can't run." I staggered backward, no clue where to go. But it was too fast. With an awful lurch, it lunged and pinned me. Familiar agony tore through my flesh as it sank its teeth in. I opened my mouth to scream, and blacked out again. The forever night. When I awoke, I was back in my bed, drenched in sweat, heart jackhammering. The clock read 3:15 a.m. again. No matter what happened, that number haunted me. I tore off the covers and rushed to the window. Darkness outside, nothing new. My reflection in the glass looked haggard, eyes sunken. I felt neither rested nor starving, as though my body had abandoned normal functions. Knock. I spun. This time, the knock came from under my bed. under my bed. My skin crawled at the notion of the creature lurking just inches below me at night, waiting for me to slip up again. I crept closer, half insane with dread. Did I dare look? The memory of its black skin, its savage grin, made me want to claw at my own eyes. But if I did nothing, it would only torment me more. I dropped to my knees, trembling, and lifted the bed skirt. Darkness stared back. Then, knock. Right beneath me, so close I could have touched it. I yelped and staggered back. My heart hammered so loudly I could barely hear myself think. If it was under the bed, it could seize my ankles at any moment, drag me into that swirling void. I whipped around to the door. Did I even dare leave the room? Every time I tried to flee, the thing followed, unstoppable. But staying put meant waiting for it to emerge. Knock. A wave of dizziness hit me. My senses reeled with the impossible repetition. 3 knocks, 2 knocks, now 1. And then 0? What happened at 0? A feverish memory of the creature's whisper slithered through my mind. You invited me. As though from the moment I opened my door that first time, it claimed me. Was there a way to revoke that invitation? I pressed my back against the bedroom door, scanning for any kind of tool, a charm, anything. Of course, there was nothing. Just the vacant darkness closing in around my house, and the beast underneath my bed. Knock. I realized something horrifying then. It's never going to stop. Each time it kills me, I wake here. Each time I try to run, it corners me. I'm stuck in a loop that restarts at 3:15 every time. My phone dead, no contact with the outside world, and no sign of other people. Is the rest of the world gone? Or am I trapped in my own twisted dream plane? I forced in a shaky breath. I have to try again. Maybe if I kept moving, searching for an exit, some route out of this haunted labyrinth, I could break the cycle. Or maybe it was hopeless. But I couldn't just lie down and give up. I slung on a jacket and shoes, bracing myself. Then, ignoring the frantic pounding of my heart, I yanked open the bedroom door and rushed out into the hallway. The corridor was quiet. No footsteps. The house felt bigger, emptier than usual, as though the walls had receded. The floorboards squeaked under my weight. Knock. The noise echoed faintly behind me, but I refused to glance back. Instead, I ran downstairs, determined to reach the front door. Dark shapes flitted in the corners of my sight, like roaches scattering when a light switches on. I tried not to look. I could sense them creeping along the edges of the walls, almost tasting my fear. Reaching the foyer, I grabbed my car keys from the bowl on the side table. My breath caught. Could I drive out of here? It was worth a shot. If the neighborhood was truly gone, maybe I could outrun the darkness anyway. Maybe, hand gripping the doorknob, I froze. A savage memory of the first time I opened it blitzed my thoughts. That was how the creature got in. But it was already in, wasn't it? Hesitation battled resolve in my chest. "This is insane," I muttered. But I have no choice. I threw the door open, stepping onto the porch. The void outside was as thick as ever. I used my key fob to beep my car. The headlights illuminated a small patch of my driveway, and to my shock, my car was actually there. Relief bloomed in my throat. Maybe it would work. I sprinted to the driver's side. My keys slid into the ignition, and the engine roared to life. Anxiety clenched my stomach. Any second, I expected the creature's claws on my shoulder. But nothing happened. I shifted into reverse, steering carefully down the driveway. The headlights cut through an endless swirl of black. I dared to breathe. If the road was still out there, I could follow it, maybe find the next town. Abruptly, a shape lunged across the hood. I slammed the brakes with a scream. The creature crouched on my windshield, face pressed against the glass. Its grin was monstrous. rows of teeth glinting in the reflection of my headlights. I floored the gas in terror. The tires squealed, but I lurched forward only a few feet before the road disintegrated beneath me, giving way to emptiness. The car tilted. Gravity vanished for a moment. I felt myself slip. Then everything crashed downward into the black, me and my car tumbling through the dark, the creature perched outside, cackling. My seatbelt bit into my torso as we careened into a swirling vortex of nothingness. The engine howled, metal screeched. Knock. Darkness collapsed on me like a heavy curtain. The final journal. I woke in bed. It was 3:15 a.m. again, just as before. The cycle repeated. My phone lay useless next to me, out of battery. The windows showed only eternal night. This time, I didn't panic or jump up. I just lay there, chest rising and falling with each shaky breath, trying to process the enormity of my situation. Over the next, I don't know how long, I tested my predicament. I ventured outside countless times, tried smashing windows, tried burning the house. Each time I died, mauled, devoured, ripped apart, and reawakened, unscathed, at 3:15 a.m. in the same sweat-soaked sheets. The world never changed. No sun ever rose. The hour never advanced. Knock, knock, knock never stopped following me. I found paper and pen in a drawer, started writing down everything I remembered. I hoped that if I left a record somewhere, someone might discover it, though deep down, I suspected I was utterly alone in this realm. At first, I rationed the food in my kitchen. Then I realized I never felt hungry or thirsty. Days, weeks, passed, and my body remained the same. I was trapped in a timeless bubble. My only visitor was the creature, whose malicious presence followed me wherever I went. Desperate, I tried demanding answers from it, standing my ground. It only laughed. Sometimes it would vanish for a few hours, letting me wander the endless night. Then, abruptly, it would appear, savage and bloodthirsty. No matter what I did, I'd end up back in bed at 3:15 a.m., alive and unhurt but more terrified than before. And so here I am now, scribbling this down by candlelight, my final testament. My name is Richie. I used to live in California. I don't even know if that place exists anymore outside of this nightmare. There's no one else here. No passing cars, no TV, no internet, nothing but silence. And the knocking, always the knocking. Even if you're reading this in your own safe home, if you ever hear a strange knock in the dead of night, don't open the door. Because once you do, you can never take it back. You might let something in that you'll never escape. Speaking of which, the creature has found a new spot to torment me from. Under the bed. I can hear it knocking beneath my mattress, faint but relentless, a heartbeat of horror reminding me I'm never alone. It's not hungry for flesh alone. It's hungry for fear, for the piece of my soul it claims each time it kills me. Maybe that's why I keep coming back, so it can feed forever. My candle is burning low, the shadows dancing on the walls. I can't see the creature yet, but I smell it, damp decay, like rotting leaves. If you can read my words, I beg you to heed them. Knock. God, it's so close. My hands are shaking, and I'm losing my grip on the pen. But I'll keep writing until the last flicker of light leaves me. Because once that happens, knock. Once that happens, I'll be alone, trapped in the dark with it. And then, there will be nothing left of me. Knock. Don't answer the door. Knock. Please. Knock. I can't do this anymore. Knock. End of entry. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and click the bell.